Hey everybody, welcome back to Skygrid with Boomer. It's been a while, hasn't it? We've been doing so many things that I kind of realized I was cutting myself a little bit too thin, and so we had to back off. We started another series on survival here on the Fnatic MC server, and we took on an insane, massive project. Normally, clearing out a Guardian Temple isn't that big of a deal. You can do that, I don't know, maybe in about 5 or 6 hours worth of work on a high end, 4 to 5 on a low. And I thought, okay, great. Then I decided I was going to do just an insane over the top base. And it got to be to the point where I needed to take a break because I was doing so much grindy stuff. It just wasn't having fun. And all of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, I haven't even been on grid. I haven't talked to you guys. Just to give you an example, got a little new skin here. We're doing this on survival where we're doing some science experiments and learning more very in-depth tutorials about Slimefun. Now here on the server, we will talk about Slimefun as well as some other plugins, but it's not the number one focus. The main focus on survival is very in-depth tutorials on Slimefun. Here, this is about having fun, building. We'll talk about Slimefun. We'll talk about Blocklocker. We'll talk about Craftbook. We'll talk about all the other plugins that are on the server. I just want to have fun. And to that end, Boomer's getting creative, man. The mayor of Boomtown called me up and said, Boomer, you got to go Boomer here. We've been making these massive dust farms for Slimefun. We had it so much. I was pumping out over 100,000 dust per hour. I was coming back so fast, I couldn't track it. I had 80 level 2 ore grinders running. I had 40 gold pans. I had 20 dust washers. I couldn't keep up. I couldn't produce enough cobble. And then I realized I was talking with someone else on a server that while it was as most efficient design it could possibly be, it wasn't fun. It was a stack of 40 ore grinders next to a stack of 40 ore grinders going up. It was a stack of 20 gold pans next to a stack of 20 gold pans. That's not fun. I mean, it's efficient, it's powerful, but it's not fun. And so I got this vision that says, what if Boomer gets creative and we tear it all down? It took me an hour and a half to rip it all down. And we build something similar to The Empire Strikes Back. And I thought of something specifically in that movie, in the beginning scenes, where they're trying to hunt down the rebellion. And they're on a planet Hoth, and they identify the rebel base by that power generator. And so I went into a creative server and tried to design it as close as I could. And I realized the colors, because it was, in Star Wars, it was gray and dark, and it didn't necessarily match this base. So I redid the blocks in the base colors here. But here's what I did. Let me see if I can get up here. I want to show this to you from an angle. No, here, let's go up one more, just a little bit higher. Bingo. Here we go. And so what I tried to create was those power generators. Now I did 5 of them in the back row. But if you look at them from up here, might not be the best view. Let's come down a little bit. They're kind of similar, where you had that line in the bottom between the generators that connected them all, and they were big round balls. And it's kind of hard to make a round out of a square block. But in the back row, this is what we made for each one. So they're kind of similar to it. Like I said, the block pattern doesn't quite match what they look like in the movie Star Wars, but that wasn't the goal. And these are all going to go away, by the way. In the next episode of Grid, we're going nuclear. We're going to be the first person to fully automate and use not 1, not 2, but 3 nuclear reactors is the goal, to see if I have enough power needs. You can see right now I have 1.7 million joules of power. I have so many Carbonado capacitors in there, it's insane. And I'm hoping to, but I got a hunch I'm going to have to go to 3 nuclear. Right now I have that much power because it isn't finished being built. While I have 72, what I went with was, this is the formula I went with, 72 ore grinders, 36 gold pans, 16 dust washers. At that rate, if I am producing enough cobble, I will have every machine running nonstop at maximum capacity with very little backup anywhere. And that includes recycling flint back into the system. So what we have here, 4 out of the 5 here have 16 ore grinders and 1 has 8. Why didn't I go to 80? It's because I don't have the cobble making capacity to stay at 80. So 72 is about where it's going to cut off. So that back row is all ore grinders. The second row happens to be gold pans, and there's going to be 36. There's 12 in each one of these. I'm going to build one more in this front row. And then in the very front, I'm going to have one power cell like that. And that's going to be the dust washers. And I'm going to have all 16 of them contained within there. Retie it back into this system. And that's kind of what I'm going to work on tonight. And I'll just kind of show you a little bit on camera how it works, and I'll come back and finish it. A couple of things we've added. We've added 2 options for killing wither skeletons, where I can do it manually with a looting X sword. And with McMMo on a server, you have the taming skill. And so I can bring my wolves back over and have 9 or 10 of them running overnight, giving me wither skellies heads to put into our friend over here, our little friend, who pumps out nether stars for me by turning on the wither chamber. So those are the kind of the new things we've added. This has pretty much stayed the same. I've tried to do some grid clearing to continue to expand, get the third hourglass going. I really haven't been able to. We've been dealing with an unusually high amount of lag due to the Slimefun plugin, and I don't like grid clearing when I can't do it quickly and efficiently. So when we've been struggling with some of that stuff, I work on other things. I know that we're trying to figure out what's going on. I know the server's owners are working on it. The Slimefun devs, they've just, apparently they did an update, and the update has caused more problems than it was beforehand. At least that's what we're hearing. An update was done. We're waiting for confirmation from Fan to prove it, but it sounds like one was, because all of a sudden a whole bunch of things randomly changed and stopped working on us. We figured out a lot of it. We simply had to restart the devices, but there's been some other issues that they're looking into. So hopefully we'll have that fixed soon. It's a great plugin when it works, and that's what we'd like to see happen. So we're going to talk about building this. One thing you don't see is all the network nodes, all the power, other than the power that's in the back, which will eventually be hidden underneath a nuclear reactor, and we're going to use some either slime or lime colored glass around it to kind of blend it in with this color palette, but we also want to make it look creative. And that's what I was going with this. It wasn't about functionality. I'll tell you, I've had to waste more material building half of this than I did when I had the other setting put together. But what I've done is I've hidden everything, all the network nodes, all the input and output nodes, everything is hidden inside of these things. So if somebody finds their way up here, they're not going to know what it does from. They're going to think, what is Boomer doing? Right? He's making these round things that are all tied together, and, it's like, all right. We do have some cobble, 409,764 cobble, 809, and it's building up. That's good. We're going to need it. Because when we fire this farm up, it's going to chew through cobble. For every 70, if I remember right, for every 72 I make, I burn like 73 or 74 before Flint gets re-automated in the system. And if the TPS stays at a perfect 20, I actually lose ground. So that's the goal, is to load this up to close to 1 million. I might even let it go for a while, put in 2 or 3 deep end storage units. And that way, if everything flies, I can have the cobble to run for a really, really long time before I actually need to shut the system off. But I do have 2 more things left to build, so I want to show you how we're doing this. Now, as we've talked about previously, we know the network nodes can transmit 5 blocks, and another connector can pick it up on 6. If I put 6 blocks in between it, the network can't connect. So what I've done to extend the network is I've hidden it underneath this connecting tube. In Star Wars, they had a pipe going from left to right, and this is kind of similar to what it represents, connecting those power generators. I've simply extended the power generators to go forward. So if I were to look at this from way up high, if I got up high, I'd see 5 generators, and I'm going to see 3, and then I'm going to see 1 up here in the front. Now I'm probably going to go up and add some stuff on the top, like antennas. I'll probably use either some iron rails, or maybe some end stone, or a combination of maybe, or not end stone, end rods, or some like lime green glass with iron or end rods, some combination. I might put a couple antennas on top of each one. But essentially, here's what we're doing. So we've got the power, the network connected through here. And when you right click on a node, it tells you can see in the bottom left corner of your screen it's connected. So we do have the network in here. All right. So let's kind of start setting this up a little bit. We're going to have to break that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to turn these. Now, the one thing I was a little concerned about, and I haven't figured an alternative yet. The floor of this base, this top part of the base, as you can see, is stripped wood. And here I am using stripped birch in there. And that was the one thing that bugged me about this. I thought, and I really do think, stripped birch looks great with kelp. However, I have so much of it up here that it almost seemed like kind of an overkill. So then I thought about using stripped dark oak, and I didn't like the color. Dark oak, that's what's in the background, I think is a nice accent to it. So for now, it's going to stay stripped birch. This floor might come out. The nice thing about it is most of the floor is hidden, but as you can see, birch, kelp, and ice a little bit, and the stone bricks. I mean, that's, pretty much what this color palette is up here, and it might need something a little bit different. So I might play around with this. I might convert it to stripped oak. I might try a different block. I'm up for ideas or suggestions. So if you think there's another block that'll fit that really good color-wise, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your feedback. And if you don't like it, tell me the same thing. I don't care. That's how you get better, is looking at things differently. I spent probably 4 hours looking at different color palettes and different plans for laying this thing out. Now, the reason we have these capacitors here is instead of having so many, going straight up in the middle and then shooting 5 out on either side, so I could have used 8 capacitors to cover 80 machines. Instead, I have 4 covering 12. Yes, it's very inefficient, and yes, I'm loving every moment of it because I am not known for being the, hey, you know what, damn the torpedoes. We're not going to do it because it's efficient. We're going to do it because we like it. And so I'm having a problem jumping up here, so I'm going to place an extra block that I know I can jump on because you can't double jump on stripped wood. All right, oops. I'm not known for being the one who likes to have inefficient. I want everything. I'm almost too OCD, and I can appreciate, if you guys know Mumbo on a Hermitcraft server, you've watched his transformation. If you've watched him over the last few years, he was very much OCD as well. All of his bases were very symmetrical, his farms, everything he built. And he's learned, and I took some inspiration from him on challenging yourself. Get outside that comfort zone, be willing to do this stuff. Now, while each one of these individual cells, yes, are symmetrical, the whole principle of it isn't me, and it's not something that I would normally build, and I'm taking a risk, and I'm comfortable with that. This whole map, this whole design, this whole base is designed to push me on being a better builder, and I'm hoping I've made some progress so far this year. I get a lot of feedback from people on the server, and I appreciate that very much. I'm hoping you're being honest with me. Don't think that you're going to offend me if you don't like a build. I'm perfectly fine if you tell me that. And if you're not part of the server and you're watching this and you love it, great. And if you don't, that's cool too. No one person, even as great as Grian is, not everybody likes every building that Grian does, and it's okay. I learned something from every builder, good and bad. I take little bits. I've taken a lot from the guys at Hermitcraft who really inspired me to challenge myself, and I really appreciate each and every one of them for what they've done on their particular channel. So channel 3, this is an incoming node. Actually, it's an output node, so it's coming into these devices. So this is channel 3, and we're bringing in the gravel so that we can pan it to pull out flint, iron nuggets, flint, iron nuggets, clay, and then sifted ore. And the sifted ore is what's going to give us our IA dust. So I'm just putting one of each of these into each one, just like so. We'll get the other ones put together. And again, you know, it was just, I did keep a little bit of OCD because I did go 5-3-1. Why don't I have my armor on? It's not like you really need armor in Skygrid because mobs don't spawn naturally, but I like to wear it. I don't know why. I don't take fall damage or anything, so, you know, it's okay. We'll get there. And the last one. All right. So that covers the inside of that. So we have 12 coming on each one of these. Or is it number 9? There we are. And then we have 12 on the outside that will take the items out of here and send them either, it's like to start with, the flint and the clay are going to go to the trash can. I had, prior to starting this over, I had about 1 million clay, I had about 1 million bricks, and I'm like, I don't need all this crap. So I stored up maybe 6 or 7 shulkers worth, and I literally drained out 1 million of each right into the trash can. And I've realized now that until I actually have a need to generate clay or bricks, it's all going to go to the trash can for now. So, you know, it's okay. I'm sorry, I was just reading in the chat. Someone was talking about something someone did that I know and was a part of, and I was curious. And nothing I need to be too worried about. So we're going to continue. Now I think I got, well, see, there you go, channel 3. And that's a challenge I think I've been having, is going back and making sure all of these details are right, because all you need to do is screw up one of them, and then I've got to unbuild some of the system to troubleshoot and find out where you screwed up. And you know, hopefully I'm not the only person that ever does that, but I've had builds where, you know, you spend all that time in the world building it, and you get to the very end and you go, oh crap, I missed something, right? And it's like you have to undo 80% of what you built because you screwed up the first layer. I guarantee you I've done that more than once. All right, so now these input nodes are going to take the items Oh, you know what? And I just did it. I just pulled that Biff. Guess what, guys? All of these are wrong. These are all gravel. I even said it. Didn't I even just say on camera a minute ago that it takes the gravel and pulls those items out? See what I'm talking about? You know what? I really hope that someone out there is chuckling a little bit and can relate. And, you know, I'm going to laugh at myself and go, okay, it was funny. It was cool. I screwed up. But here's the good thing. I caught it now. So I'll tell you what. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and fix this boo-boo. And I'm going to finish building this off camera. I'll finish the 9th and 10th one until it's completely done. And we'll come back and look at it. So guys, we've finished all the builds. You can see behind me there are currently 9 power cells that have been built, 5 in front of 3 in front of 1. And that tended to be the ideal balance of the machines. Now I've been able to run all these farms for a pretty long time, and unfortunately I've found a minor flaw. For those of you who've played Slimefun, you know it goes from an ore grinder to a gold pan to a dust washer. And I played around with the ratios of how many of each to have for probably 3 days to get it balanced out. And I thought I had it pretty well on after 3 days of testing. The problem was I've gone another 3 days with the farms almost running 24/7 just to see what would happen. And unfortunately, the ratios are just a little short. I'm running 72 ore grinders, 36 gold pans, and 16 dust washers. And all the dust washers have backed up, which have caused backups of the gold pans, which have caused backup of the ore grinders. So that front one right there behind me has all the dust washers in it. I may have to try to sneak in there if there's room and see if I can't add 1 or 2 more to alleviate the pressure. I'd rather have the system flowing too fast than not fast enough and back up somewhere. So we're going to attempt to fix that. And by the way, if you noticed, I have a different suit on. I am wearing a hazmat suit. There's a reason why. We finally have decided to go boomer with power. We have gone nuclear. Yep, after the first attempt of learning nuclear a while ago, screwed me up pretty good. We are now running 3 nuclear, that's right, 3 nuclear power plants. So let's kind of look inside of these. That's why I have a hazmat suit on. So you can see we have, this is inside the nuclear reactor. We are currently recycling uranium back into the reactor, because when the uranium burns off, it becomes neptunium. Neptunium, when it runs and burns off, becomes plutonium. We don't have any plutonium that I can really show you other than the network modules right now, because this is all still cycling through. We have a reactant cooler cells. If I want to see what's inside of the access port, here I've got some neptunium, some uranium, some more reactant coolant cells, and plutonium will appear in this spot if I have any. The percentages that you see above these are how far has the reactant cooler cell been drained down. So right now the one directly in front of me, we've used up 48%, or it was remaining. I'm sorry, we used up 52. It takes about 15 seconds to drain out a coolant cell. A uranium power cell runs 20 minutes, neptunium runs 25. Do the math, you can figure out, I need 80 reactant cooler cells for every uranium and 100 for every neptunium. So I needed to find a way to create a permanent, self-sustaining, self-running reactant cell farm. Currently I have 5,430 backed up, 31. And what this is based off of an ice farm. This one freezer is taking buckets of water, turning it into ice. We have two farms, turning ice into packed ice. We have two farms turning packed ice into blue ice, and two farms turning blue ice into reactor coolant cells. The problem is the ice farm is so fast it actually buries two of these. Now I could put in a third set, but it really isn't necessary. I'm generating more reactor coolant cells than I'm using. So while yes, the farm is backed up, it's not affecting anything, and I'm generating an increase. This afternoon when I turned this on, I had about 4,100. So there's no need to make this even more efficient than it is, because all it's going to do is back this up even faster. There is a downside. Now, congrats to Mango. This is his design initially of a automatic water bucket filler, but it was never meant to be an eternally running project. He would dump in 32 buckets, get us 32 buckets of water instantaneously, saving him some time. The design flaw with to make it a self-sustaining farm is that when the buckets run out, now this here, I'm going to turn this on just so I can get my pointer back. This dropper was not part of his farm. This is something I've had to add in afterwards, because what you would do would be that the chest was actually on top of this hopper. It would pull them all down, send it into the dispenser, and it would rapidly fill up. He'd have a dropper elevator fill the chest behind it with the water buckets, and they're working their way in right now. And actually, they're probably going right out to the farm. That's why you're not even seeing them fill up. The problem that created was that the farm would shut off, and I got buckets coming back in through the network into this system, and they would sit in this dropper and they wouldn't go anywhere. Nothing I did could get this farm jump started unless I manually put one into this hopper. What I did is I came back here, and I've extended the redstone pulses as maximum as I could to slow down the production of ice. But I added a second repeater going back into this dropper. And what it does is it's a 1 tick delay before it goes into the hopper to start the system. But again, if all the droppers ran out, or the dropper ran out of buckets, the system wouldn't start back up. So what I did is I took a signal coming out of the dropper, and 11 buckets will give you a signal strength of 2. And I think you saw this just a minute ago on the camera light up. It hits 2, turns on the repeater, fires this dust up, which in turn sends 1 bucket from the dropper into the system and essentially jump starting the farm back up. In other words, it runs forever. I thought that was pretty cool. I was able to figure it out after about a half an hour of playing around with it. So the uranium farm runs nonstop, and I've showed that before, so I'm not going to spend much time on that. The water bucket farm runs forever, nonstop. The only time it's ever going to stop is when the large Slimefun barrel fills up and then all the ice farms fill up. Then it will stop. When that runs back out or needs to refill, it will self-generate up until that last ice farm is filled. Then I will manually have to come over here and actually start the farm back up. because what will happen is the water will run. Actually, you know what? I probably don't have to, because the buckets will still drain out of here. They'll just simply get stored inside this chest. There'll be 11 buckets of water just waiting to get pulled out. So actually, I won't have to jumpstart the farm. It'll start all back up on its own. So a lot of work putting this in. I do need to do some troubleshooting again. I got to get inside of here. And what I did, I haven't gone back and busted all the stone out yet. But I had left these as like access ports to the motor, so that I can get up in there and see what's going on. So that's something I'm going to work on off camera. But thanks guys for taking the time to watch the video. The next the next thing I'm going to complete is going to go back over to the survival server. We're going to spend some time going very in-depth on the network and how that works in Slimefun. And then when we come back on Grid, we've got a couple other things in mind that I'm looking forward to doing. But again, I thank you for watching. If you're new to the series, consider subscribing. And, you know, we say something on Grid. We say it every episode. You got to go Boomer or you got to go home. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.